All right. Welcome, everybody. I want to thank you for being here today, to take time out of your day to listen to what we have to say about brain health. It's part of our webinar series, live webinar series, just for the health of it, we're calling it. And a few weeks ago, we had done one on finding your calm. Then 2 weeks ago was on pain management 101. And now, basically, we're talking about brain health. And just to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Angrist. I'm a wellness chiropractor. Been in practice in New York and New Jersey for 39 years. And my message and my mission and my passion is to really help to educate people about an alternative way of taking care of their health. We're in a society that much of it is about medications and surgeries, and those are definitely needed at times, but I think we don't look at the way the body works, and trusting in our own bodies to heal, and using alternative approaches to get the body to work more efficiently, to function at a higher level. So I think we'll find this interesting today. Brain health is it's an epidemic right now with all of the conditions, which we'll talk about today, and it's a matter of getting a better understanding as to what it is and what you can do about it. So let's get started. Again, I thank you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let us know. Contact us about any of this. Comments, critiques, open to everything. You know, the brain and the mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work unless it's open. So I ask you to be open, just in life in general, to be open, to be free. We talk about that a lot. And again, let's get started. So what is the brain? The brain is an organ. It's the master system of the body. It's the control system. It controls everything. And when we have a brain that functions properly, then our body functions properly. So the goal is, what do we need to do to get this brain, this master system, this control system to work efficiently? The brain is an organ that is about 3 pounds and only takes up about 2% of our body weight. So it's really very small, but it is so powerful. So that's what we're going to get into. So let's start with the functions. And I'm not going to talk about all of the different parts of the brain and what it does. That's way too technical, not important for this conversation. Everything is controlled by this master system. And it's so imperative, again, to have this master system to not take it for granted. If I were to ask certain people, many people, what's most important in the body? A lot of people say the heart. But the brain is what controls the heart. The brain and the heart work hand in hand, but the brain controls everything. So just important to know and never to neglect, as I said, take for granted our heart. Left brain and right brain. So we've all heard left brain, the analytical side, the mathematical side, versus the right brain is the creative side, the spiritual side. And they do work hand in hand. There are nerves that cross throughout the brain. And we've also heard about the left part of the brain controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. And that's true. If there's trauma to the right side, it can certainly impede the function of the left side and vice versa. So it's just important to know a little bit of information about the brain. And then we are going to talk about this Dr. Sperry, who is a neuropsychologist who won the Nobel Prize. And he's the one who founded, back I think in 1961, the left brain, right brain theory. But he said some very important things in his research. He said the spine is the motor that drives the brain. The spine is the motor that drives the brain. So what does that mean? That means movement. We need movement to our spine. Chiropractors are known to manipulate the spine, to enhance movement, alignment of the spine. But the research has shown that that enhances and improves brain function. But not only what we do, but what do you do? So how much do you move? That's where exercise is so vital. Yet many people don't exercise. And for whatever reasons, we get caught up in that. We'll talk about some numbers later, but certainly just moving is so vital. We'll get back to that point. 90%, he said, of the stimulation and nutrition to the brain is also generated by movement of the spine. Pretty amazing. And he also says that only 10% of our brain's energy goes to thinking metabolism, immunity, and healing, because 90% goes into maintaining the body's relationship with gravity, commonly called balance. So we have major balance issues in our society, especially for the elderly. Seniors have balance problems where the brain has not worked properly, posturally, which is controlled by the nervous system. So it's really about restoring balance, but balance comes in many forms. So aligning the brain and the body. Your brain, as we said, is the control system, and brain balance and harmony is essential to overall well-being and optimal cognitive, emotional, and physical performance. And once the brain is balanced, the body always follows. The condition of harmony is known as homeostasis. Homeostasis is also what's called balance. And when you have that, it creates states of self-regulation. What's self-regulation? It's your heart beating properly as compared to having a fast heartbeat. Your blood pressure functioning at a normal level. Your breathing rate, all controlled by your nervous system and brain, which is called self-regulation. We don't have to think about what our nervous system is doing. It just does it. We don't have to think about our heart. Generally, you shouldn't feel your heart. People that feel their heart, that's something I suggest maybe you get that checked, because if you think about it, we don't ever feel our heart. Maybe if we're under stress, we feel our heart racing. But in general, if we're in a calm, balanced, homeostatic state, everything is in a relaxed state. So vital to have that balance. And that's what we talk about all day, is having balance in so many areas. Neurological disorders. 1 in 5 people in the United States suffer from a neurological disorder, which are diseases of the brain, spine, and the nervous system, connecting all of this. It's quite a number. And the numbers are staggering since we are in a neurological epidemic. So chronic stress has propelled us into the early stages of this epidemic called the neurological epidemic. And it's something that really needs to be addressed. The medical community basically deals with it with medication, drugs, and potential surgeries. And the alternative community is dealing with it from hopefully a preventative perspective. Nobody has all the answers. There's a lot of research going on right now, a lot of unknowns, a lot of misinformation. My wife is a geriatric social worker at a hospital in New Jersey, and she is an expert in Alzheimer's, the care of Alzheimer's patients, as well as dealing with their families and the caregivers around them. And basically, there are no simple answers, but we talk about from a natural alternative approach to get your body to work more efficiently. And if you've come to me as a patient, you've known, that's what we talk about. It's not just addressing the symptom, it's addressing your whole system, you as a whole person. And that's what it's about. It's about the mind, the body, the physical, the emotional, the nutritional, all of that. And again, we will talk about all of this in more detail. So this dangerous epidemic has a lot of these conditions that we all know of somebody, ourselves, family, friends, coworkers, that are suffering. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism, insomnia, lupus, multiple sclerosis, acid reflux, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, anxiety, migraines, depression. How many people have all this? What is it? Is it just a condition that we need to find the drug for? Or is it something we need to be more conscious of preventatively to get our bodies to work more efficiently, to get our body, our mind, our brain, our physical body, our heart to function at the highest level possible? So many of these conditions are treatable. No answers, no simple answers, but can be treated with doing the specific keys that we'll talk about. So under these conditions, dementia is basically the umbrella condition. Dementia means decreased mental ability, diminished mental ability. And if you have these 5 criteria, if you have 2 of those 5 in any extreme fashion, then you have to really go and be evaluated as to what's going on here. So if your memory loss is extreme, then you have to take a look. All of us forget our keys, forget our wallets, our bag, whatever, our phone, whatever it might be. It's pretty normal, happens at all ages. But when there's a pattern of it, extreme, then certainly have to look at it in conjunction with any of these others. Communication issues, language issues, the ability to focus or pay attention, reasoning and judgment, and visual perception. And just being aware of that, or loved ones of ours. For those of us in the baby boomer generation, we're dealing with parents that are getting older in their 80s and in their 90s, and certainly dealing with a lot of these factors. And under that umbrella of dementia, the number one condition that affects probably 85% of these conditions is Alzheimer's. And again, I'm sure some of you know people very closely. My mother had Alzheimer's for 7 years and basically only existed. Didn't know who I was, didn't know who anybody was, had to be fed. And it's a very sad state when you go into these facilities where everybody's suffering from it. It's almost like a war zone, and it's quite horrific. So all of us, I'm sure, want to try to prevent that from happening. And we'll talk about how to prevent that. Over 5 million Americans live with Alzheimer's. 1 in 10 people over the age of 65 has Alzheimer's. And early onset Alzheimer's affect approximately 200,000 Americans under the age of 65. So those are pretty scary numbers, but again, things we can do about it. Strokes are another major issue with the brain. 800,000 new or occurring strokes happen every year. Up to 80% of strokes can be prevented. Stroke is the 5th leading cause of death in the U.S., and it's the leading cause of adult disability here in the United States. So let's talk about prevention. So here you can see a nice screen of fruits, and obviously diet plays a big role. But I always talk about the 5 keys to health. What are the 5 keys to health? Exercise, good nutrition, the proper mindset, having good posture, and making sure you get enough sleep. Those 5 simple keys not only pertain to brain health, they pertain to heart health, they pertain to your overall health, because it's all connected. As I said, we're a system, not a symptom. Everything works together, everything's connected. So simple things for us to do: walking with a friend, taking a dance class, joining an exercise group, playing golf, taking a tennis lesson, joining a community pool, all social interactions that get our brain. It's exercise for the body as well as exercise for the brain. And that's where hitting the books is vital. Reading, simply reading. A lot of people don't read as much as they can. And certainly as we get older, I recommend highly we read more, do more crossword puzzles, Sudoku, play cards, play Scrabble, have fun. Hit the books, get your brain exercised and moving. Just like we need the spine moving and the body moving, we need the brain to move. And exercising the brain is by utilizing it. And reading is number 1. Obviously, cigarettes, one of the 2 major health hazards in our society are smoking and being overweight or obese. And for those of you that don't smoke and you're not overweight or obese, you're way ahead of the game. For those of you that do, that's your goal, that's your work, to figure out how do I get back on track to stop smoking and lose weight. And it's a challenge. Everybody, the most common word I hear is it's hard. Everything's hard. But it is hard. Life is hard. Relationships are hard. Making money is hard. Being healthy is hard. But there are certain things you have to do. And if you're smoking, you can't just tell a smoker to stop smoking. They know that smoking isn't good for you, but doing it. That's where I always talk about the expression, knowledge is power. I don't believe knowledge is power. I believe knowledge plus action is power. Every smoker knows that smoking is hazardous, but they don't take the action until they're ready. Those of us that love people that smoke, you can tell them all day, please stop, it's bad for your health, until they're ready, until you're ready to stop. That's really the key. And that's what this is about, being accountable, being responsible. I always say responsibility is the ability to respond. So you've got to start responding to your healthcare needs. Heart smart. Taking care of your heart, your brain is likely to follow. I said before, the brain controls the heart, but there's an effect, a cause and effect. So the brain affects the heart affects the brain, and everything else interconnected within the body. So your heart, obviously exercise, being aware of cholesterol levels, blood tests, really important to see where you're at, have a baseline, blood pressure levels. So as the brain works normally, blood pressure levels, cholesterol levels should be normal. But if the brain's not working properly, because we're not doing the things we need to do in our lifestyle, then we start having problems with blood pressure and cholesterol levels. And then the medications come, and rather than dealing with the source. So I know it's a lot harder than taking medication, but it's a lot healthier for you. Sleep, catching some Z's, not getting enough sleep due to conditions like insomnia and sleep apnea result in problems with memory and thinking. And for all of us, if we don't get enough sleep even one night, how do we function the next day? We're not as good. And certainly if you're a person that doesn't sleep on a regular basis, you don't get the optimal 7 to 9 hours, which many people do not, for whatever reasons there are, and stress is one of them, then how can you memorize things? How can you function at the level you're supposed to function at your job or with your kids or with your grandkids or with your family or whoever it might be? So sleep, to me, there's so many key factors to being healthy, but getting enough sleep, 7 to 9 hours, and drinking a lot of water are vital. So if you can do those two, you don't smoke and you're not overweight, then again, you're way ahead of the battle. So let's continue. Mental health and stress. Studies report an association between depression and an increased risk of cognitive decline. Managing stress can help reduce symptoms of depression, anxiety, and other mental concerns. So movement affects emotion. Motion affects emotion. When you have motion in your life, motion in your body, motion in your spine, your emotional state is higher, better. When you don't have motion in your spine, you don't have movement in your body, your emotional state is lower, commonly called depression and anxiety. So it's up to you. Do you want to move? Want to move your body, move your brain, move your mind in a way that's going to enhance the energy in your body? And really, we're just energy. And what I find and what acupuncturists find is blocked energy. When I work on you, I'm always looking for those areas of blocked energy to open up that energy, to restore movement, to restore mobility. And as we get older, it's so important. It's easy when we're 15 or 20 years old to be active, but it's when we get caught up in the work world and kids and finances and stress that we tend to not move. We get stuck, we get blocked. We get blocked. Everything just doesn't function and move the way it should. So let's define stress. And stress is your body's way of responding to any kind of demand, any kind of demand. It can be caused by both good and bad experiences. So for example, good experiences, getting married, having kids, getting a new job, moving into a new home. Those are good things. Then there are bad stresses like relationships and finances and work or school and time management. Well, you know what? Physiologically in our body, it affects us the same adverse way. Those stressors, good or bad, create a physiological reaction that actually blocks energy. So either way, it's a matter of dealing with the stresses. And that's what we're going to discuss here. Stress is a physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension and is a factor in disease causation. So we have to really be aware of where the stress is coming from. And that's what this chart really helps to delineate. And I've used this chart for years. There are 3 major categories of stress. There are physical or structural stresses in our body. There are emotional or spiritual stresses. And there are chemical or nutritional stressors. So let's go through some of these. Number 1, I have overweight. So overweight is a major issue. 70% of our society, 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. So if you are, you're not in the minority, you're in the majority. But what do you do about it? As I said, it's not knowledge. Knowing you know that you have to do something is not as good as actually taking the action. So you have to deal with certain areas here that are vital to your health. Not exercising properly, not exercising. Vital to your health. Poor posture. Just think if you're slouching all the time on your phone or on your computer, how that compromises our lungs and breathing, and therefore many problems can emanate from that. Improper lifting, poor ergonomics, accidents, traumas, falls. Those are physical stressors. How many of those do you have? Well, if you do, you circle those and you say, okay, I'm going to start working on 1 or 2 of those. Then you go to emotional stresses, family, relationships, work, school, finances, time management. All the angers, the fears, the negativities, the judgments that we have, all are emotional stressors. How do you deal with those? What can you do about it? There's always something we can do. There's always certain changes we can make, but you have to focus in for you what's most important. And then, of course, nutritional and chemical stressors. So all the poor diet, the processed foods, the sugars, the sodas, the caffeine, the alcohol, the nicotine, all the chemicals. And what are you going to clean up? Do you want to clean it up? Is that something that's important to you? But for all the research that I've done in 39 years of practicing alternative approaches, it's vital that we come from all three of these categories. What can you do physically, emotionally, and nutritionally to enhance your health? How can you think better, eat better, and move better? If you can do that, you will feel better. But you have to think better, eat better, and move better. Whatever level we're at. Even those of us that are healthy, we have to do more. Those of us that aren't really have to do more. But you go one step at a time. Be kind to yourself. Take it slow. So long-term stress has been linked to so many of these conditions: anxiety, depression, digestive problems, memory loss, insomnia, hypertension, heart disease, strokes, cancer, ulcers, rheumatoid arthritis. I can go on and on. You know, you get the drift. It's just a matter of everything. Just like the nervous system controls everything, it's all connected. A non-functioning or poor functioning nervous system affects all of this. A poor functioning muscular system where everything, because of the stresses, long-term stresses, cause our body to be compressed, congested, contracted, and therefore the body doesn't work the way it should. So look at those. And again, what do we do in our society? We tend to, there's a pill, there's a drug for all of these. If that's what one elects to do, it's probably easier to do, but there are damaging side effects. There's no guarantee that it gets to the source, which I know it doesn't, the source and the cause of the problem. The only way you get to the source and the cause is by looking inside of you. So whenever we look out there, we point our finger out, there's always three fingers pointing at you. So we have to be, as I've said, accountable and responsible for our own health. And again, baby steps. It's about moderation, not deprivation. It's not about going crazy to change everything overnight. It doesn't work that way. Slow and easy really wins. Every one of us suffer from constant, chronic, low levels of stress, physically, chemically, and emotionally. But what you don't know is how it impacts your life, because it's almost invisible. Our brain is almost invisible, our heart. We don't think about the damage we're doing every single day, physically, chemically, and emotionally. But we are. And the more we can recognize that or buy into that or believe that, you might not believe that. You might think, no, it's just those are things that are occurring to me. I caught the cold, I caught this, and that's the way one thinks. Your beliefs create your reality. So I respect that. I practice non-judgment, but certainly start looking more within from those three levels. That's what balance is: physical, chemical, and emotional. Not just dealing with one. I'll have patients say, yep, I exercise regularly, I eat really well, but why am I having these headaches and these back pains and all these other types of symptoms? And then we'll talk about the third component, emotionally. So something at work, something at home, something with finances is out of balance. And we have to deal with all three. And every one of us has this. Nobody's immune to this. We all have weaknesses physically, nutritionally, and emotionally. So it's just we all need to work more on ourselves. We want our kids to be healthy. We want to, as we're certainly getting older, to be healthy. Okay? Quality of our lives are controlled by questions we ask. So here's some, I think, really important questions. So where in your body do you hold or carry your stress? So some people will say their head, headache. Some people in their chest. Some people will say in their stomach. Some people say in their back or their shoulder. Wherever you're carrying your stress, you have to look and see and ask yourself the question, why? We tend to ask the question, what is it? What's going on? Versus, I really like that question, why is it? Why am I having headaches? Does that mean we have, God forbid, brain cancer? No, many times headaches are due to just enormous amounts of tension in the shoulders and the neck. 85% of headaches actually come from nothing in the brain. It comes from tension in the neck and shoulders. So you really have to look at yourself introspectively as to where am I holding this? Where am I carrying this? And what can I do about it? So if somebody's having upper back issues and I'll say, how's your posture? They'll say, terrible. I say, well, you've got to work on that posture. Those 5 keys to health, as we had talked about earlier. What tools have you used to reduce your stress? So I don't know any medications that reduce stress. I think they create actually more stress. But what are tools? Meditation, yoga, Pilates, acupuncture, chiropractic, Tai Chi, many methods, massage. nutrition, exercise. Those are tools to reduce stress. Then a really important question, is stress an external challenge or is it an internal response to an external challenge? See, the stress, as I said, all of us have stress, physically, chemically, and emotionally. It's all out there. But it's how we handle, how we manage the stress. So if we don't manage the stress well, you know what? Our bodies become rigid. And it's a very heavy weight to carry around, stress. Because again, if we all have it, we're all carrying it around. Those people that learn to understand, to unravel and to get rid of that stress, to not carry it, to let go, to surrender, to allow, to trust, gives your body a better chance to handle it from within. And that's what inner peace is getting your body to be so resilient, so calm, that even when stuff, the stories, the challenges, the turbulence comes our way, that we're resilient enough to deal with it. Okay? Why do you think your body failed to heal itself? So the body has an amazing ability to heal on its own, right? We're born with this, what's called innate intelligence, inborn intelligence. And the body heals if you do the right things. If you don't do anything about it, then it's not going to heal. So you really want to be able to trust your own body. We want to trust people in our lives. Trust is an important ingredient in life. Why not trust our own body? If I have a cut, will my cut heal on its own? Absolutely. If I have a broken bone that's not a complex fracture, just say a hairline fracture, it heals on its own. If I have a cold or a flu, the body heals in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you start to feel better. It heals on its own. What do you do if you have a cold or a flu? You start resting more, start doing things you should have done before, and you start eating better. I have chicken soup, and I'll just have water, and I'll nourish my body. So it's really, again, about your choices. What choices do you make? And then, do you know that science has referred to the spine as the motor that drives the brain? Okay. Let's see. There we go. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your daily stress level? And most of us are in the 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 range. Very few are in the 1 to 2 range. If you're in the 1 to 2 range, I applaud you. But that means that everything physically is going well. You're exercising regularly. You're fit. Your posture is really good. You get enough sleep. Emotionally, you have wonderful relationships. Finances aren't an issue. You have time to travel and live your life. And nutritionally, you're eating all the healthy foods. So I don't know too many people that fall into that. But if you are, again, I do applaud you. And that's the goal. We want to work our way down the scale to diminish that stress level. National Institutes of Health say up to 90% of all illness is related to stress. Far worse than years ago. We live in a fast-paced, high-tech, high-stress world. It's just the nature of where we live right now. No organism in nature is designed to withstand the effects of this long-term stress. We have this constant chronic daily stress. And it's important to realize that no one is immune. That includes you and me. None of us are immune. I had a patient who's a researcher and scientist, and he said, as we're getting older and we're living longer, everybody's going to die from heart disease, cancer. That's as long as we're living longer, that's what's going to happen. But we want to be in life like a candle burning brightly all the way until the end. And then it flickers and goes out. That's the goal, whatever age it is. Versus, like my mother, for 7 years, her candle just flickered. Not the way we'd want to live. None of us want to live that way. So I think living a lifestyle that's improved over where we're at now, raising the bar even a little bit, can help us get there. So brain food. What are brain foods? Fish, vegetables, salads, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, fats. The brain is 60% fat and 75% water. So we need to eat fat, good fats. Fish, and we'll talk about fish oils. Fish is vital to brain and heart function and inflammation. Inflammation is a buzzword with society today with all the problems. You want to reduce your inflammation, start eating healthy foods and stay away from all those in that chart. We talked about all the processed foods, the sugars, the sodas, the caffeines, the alcohol, the nicotine, the chemicals in our body. And caffeine, I know there's a lot of research now that says there are lots of good to it, but it's still a chemical. So you get to decide. Again, you have to be an educated healthcare consumer as to what you think are the right foods for you to eat. So brain food, is so important because it relates to heart food, relates to your whole body. Eat the colors of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Roy G. Biv, if you remember from science class in the 8th grade. So red, what's red? Tomatoes and watermelon and apples. And what's orange? Oranges. And what's yellow? Bananas and greens, of course, with the broccolis and the asparagus and the Brussels sprouts. And, you know, if you don't eat that, find supplements that help you with that. But you've got to eat the colors of the rainbow. And you also have to stay away from foods that are in cans and boxes. Why is that? Because foods that are in cans or boxes have labels on them. And if you haven't, I'd like you to read the labels and see what kind of chemicals are in the food you're eating. So if you eat natural whole foods, wholesome foods, you're not getting all those chemicals. So just hopefully you look at that and start reading labels. Even if it says natural on the box or the can, read what's in it, and then you'll have an idea. If you can't pronounce it, I would let you know, don't eat it. Supplements. A number of supplements are associated with improving cognitive function. Consuming a healthy diet obviously is the best way to achieve optimal nutrition, but sometimes we need to supplement. So people will ask me, what's the best supplement for me to take? And I say, well, the word supplement means to supplement your diet. So it all starts not by taking the right supplements, it starts with having the right diet. And then you can supplement in the right supplements, right vitamins to take. And there's so many out there in the market. Do you want to go to a health food store and have somebody that's in high school that works there tell you what you need for this condition? That's like treating it with medicine. Well, you want to treat what your body really needs. And it's simple. Your body needs certain specific things. So these following supplements, there's a lot of controversy over these also. So do your own due diligence and certainly, again, be an educated healthcare consumer. But these are known to help with brain function, cognitive function, and it starts with fish oils. And I'm a big believer. Over the years, I've been testing and trying every vitamin, taking multiple vitamins, multiple numbers of vitamins, and I've come up, only now do I take one supplement. I eat it as healthy as I can, and I only take fish oil. I eat fish many days a week, but I take fish oils. This is what I take. It's a Carlson Super D Omega-3. It's high in omega-3 fatty acids. It tastes delicious. It's got vitamin D with it also. And it has DHA and EPA, which are vital to brain health, heart health, and inflammation. So fish oils to me are number one. But there are other supplements that if you do the research, resveratrol is really important to really enhance function of the brain. Ginkgo biloba, rhodiola, rosea, also definitely powerful Chinese medicine herbs that are vital, and phosphatidylserine are also. And you can look these up and you take what you think you need to take. I personally only take the fish oils. If you want to know, you can go online. It's Carlson, and it's inexpensive. It's $18, I believe, and it lasts me for over a month. And I just feel over the years of me taking that it helps with my clarity and my function. Can I prove it? No, I can't prove it. But certainly there are tests, and we're going to talk about that do help to prove that. And this is it. I'm a BrainSpan provider. BrainSpan is a medical company that came out with this a number of years ago, and they look at your blood. It's a home kit that you take, and you do a finger prick of your blood along with a 15 or 20-minute online cognitive test that you do it in the privacy of your home, and where it's asking all kinds of questions, and you get back a report of this assessment. And basically, this company is looking for all of the levels of omega-3s versus omega-6s, which are the bad fats, and getting values so you can then monitor over the course of the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, where your body stands. Okay? So basically, that's something that you really want to possibly look at if you're interested in tracking where your brain health is. Okay? And that's what talks about it. You can go through this. Again, you have any questions, all the research from my BrainSpan is there. And here's just some articles in journals: JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association, neurology journals, these are medical journals, sports nutrition. And you can see these titles. Do you know you may be able to reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by as much as 47%? all related to omega-3s, increasing your omega-3 content, lowering your omega-6s. And you can see all of that, go through look at any of these articles, really a vital part of health. I want to thank you for today, for taking the time to listen to this. Like I've said, if you have any questions, brain health is such an important subject, and I thank you, and we look forward to seeing you soon. We're going to have the next one 2 weeks from today's Thanksgiving, so we're going to have one the week after Thanksgiving. I'm not sure what the topic will be, but it'll be about health. If you have any information that you'd like to pass on to us as to things you'd like us to talk about, I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Dr. Arnie Angrist. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.